Let's talk about saving souls. That's the most important thing, I think. All this information that I talk about is mostly just to save souls or help you gain in faith, I guess. But I guess all I can do is tell you how I was saved. See, I grew up pretty different where, I was hosting parties when I was 7, 8 years old. And probably how I'm so good at just talking like this because I'd sit up with Randy every weekend till like 5 in the morning and we'd talk about everything in his life and try to settle all his problems. And so we talk about work and wife and kids and everything, right? He was so drunk he probably never remembered, but I was a kid, I remember everything. Well, most things, I guess. It was a long time ago. I can hardly remember Randy's face. Anyway, so it wasn't church on the weekends. That was my church on the weekend, right? So all night I'd play music, mix drinks, hang out, get put to bed, sneak back out, do more mixing drinks, hanging out, talking to people. If a couple got into a fight, I'd talk to both sides of that argument and try to settle it. If I couldn't settle it, I'd throw them out, tell them to go home. Everybody drank and drove back then. It was the 80s. And or tell them to go to bed if they were staying. But anyhow, and mostly there was none of that. It was a bunch of hippies who were drunk and high and just loving each other. There was a lot of cheating, subtle cheating, like no sex that I saw, but everything. People rubbing and making out. Anyway, the belief structure was that, yeah, there's probably a God, but we know better. The Bible's a good storybook for people to learn morals from and shit like this, right? And that we're just a spirit. It's a spiritual thing. So there's no God really, but the universe has power and thought. Blah blah blah. All this shit. What a stupid thing to think. Don't say that if you're trying to save somebody, but really it's ridiculous. You don't want to believe in God, so instead you give inanimate creation thought and power, and you make it God, right? You even do it with the earth. See people who'll say, oh, the earth is sentient, and Mother Nature, this and that. Well, there's some truth to that. See, as a person, you don't have to think about your blood being pumped or your liver filtering or your kidneys filtering or any of that shit. It's not like you go, oh shit, I forgot to turn my kidneys on this morning. It just does it because it's this perfect creation. And then the earth is made by the same guy. So it's going to be very similar, right? And now, so it will shake us off in such a thought, it will defend itself at some point. Right now, it doesn't know what it's defending itself from because we wear these shoes that disconnect us from the earth. So it's a parasite that it can't feel, right? And it's not that there's too many of us for the earth to control or take or whatever. It's that when it doesn't know where we're at, and then we pave it in the cities where we're the most of us, it doesn't know how to react, right? Like when a fly lands on you, you know how to react, right? You do something, do that, whatever, right? So the earth's going to be designed kind of the same way. It's not going to do that to us in most cases. Now, those major cities, it may, because we live so improperly, so out of sync and out of harmony with the earth, that we're a parasite in that thought, that not the way that evolutionists think of us as being a parasite, but I mean in that we've disconnected ourselves, and then we pave over the earth so that it can't absorb the water and the sun and everything that it needs to do. And then that pavement's black, and it changes the temperatures and everything so that the animals aren't comfortable, and even we're not comfortable. And so it doesn't register us. And we're on rubber tires, and we're on rubber shoes and all that kind of stuff. So it's like I've said it before, if you shaved your hair and then just set it back on, and then you wonder why your body's not taking care of it or whatever. Well, it doesn't know that it's there. Anyway, similar designs, similar designers. And so my life, so then I went through life thinking that way, just like most of you, probably worse. I was going around, I'd argue with Christians, especially of my own age, and I was good at arguing, so I could win them over for the devil. I hate that I did that. I hope that I thought that I was better than I actually was. But I was probably a lot like that fucking idiot Professor Dave. Anyway, I went to school, found out so much information about all the things that we think we know so well. We think we understand biology and all this stuff and evolution. People throw that fucking word around. Must have 9 meanings by now, but it's got 6 definitions, and only one of them is real. Evolution, cosmic evolution, stellar evolution, macroevolution, microevolution, I forget, and then natural selection is the 6th one. That's the one that actually happens. Natural selection selects. It doesn't create. It just can pick from what's there. So, dog DNA. Well, natural selection can pick blue eyes, brown eyes, males, females, dark colors, light colors, all in the same litter So same mom, same dad, right? But let's say dad had a blue eye, and mom was a German Shepherd, and dad's a boxer. A beautiful dog that would be. And so some of them would have a little short hair, right? Because it can select that. That option's there. Some of them might have really longer hair. That option's there, right? Some of them might have the single blue eye because that option's there. Only if the mother and the father both carry the blue eye gene. See, with the German Shepherd, they don't carry the blue eye gene. So then natural selection wouldn't be able to select the blue eye anymore. If the other parent has one blue eye, right, then it doesn't even have full blue eyes, but it's carrying the gene, right? Now the German Shepherd would have to be a mutt as well, and one of its parents having the blue eye gene, it could pass it down. But with both parents carrying a brown eye gene, it's always going to be the dominant. Unless, or no, if one parent, only carries brown, then it's going to be too overwhelming to select the blue. It's impossible. So, anyhow, and I don't think it probably isn't impossible. It's probably just very, very, very improbable because but I don't think it is, because I think that natural selection has to take, like, you carry either brown or blue or blue, but in order to, and one comes from your mom, one comes from your dad. You can't get both from one parent. So if your mom's brown, you're going to be, if one of in order to be blue, you have to be blue. Brown's dominant. It's always going to be dominant. So I carry blue. My dad has blue eyes. So my son has blue eyes. But I cannot have blue eyes because I got brown from my mom. But my sister got blue eyes because my grandmother on my mom's side had blue eyes. So she can carry the blue brown. So she has that option to pass down. That's all natural selection is. Just a selection of things. But it cannot select, like with my eyes and with me and my sister, it couldn't have selected, oh, well, I'm going to make Jason into a dog. That option's just not there. Right? So there's no possibility of it ever creating a new kind that way. Now, there are certain animals like horse and donkey that are so similar, they can breed and they have what's called an ass, and it's sterile. It's born sterile, and that's it. It lives its life and it dies. There's no baby asses. So, anyhow, no way for that word evolution. And then all the other ones are retarded. Like that all the periodic elements evolve from hydrogen and I forget what the other one was, but all evolve from two elements in an explosion. That's impossible. And then they talk about fast fusion in the stars, and that's doesn't explain all the elements. That only explains a couple. Anyhow, um, and then they lie to us about star creation, stuff like this. They made up the Oort cloud, and they tell us that um, there's a cloud in space that's so far out that you cannot see it. Nobody's ever seen it, and nobody knows anything about it. But it spits out stars or whatever, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's just a theory. It's just a wish. He hopes that there's this cloud out there, and then they teach it to us like it's true, but it isn't true. And things like that go on and on. But I'll try to cover a few more of them. The limiting factors of the age of the universe. There's a bunch of those too. Such as the sun gets smaller in the heliocentric model. The sun gets smaller every year, shrinking. Not a lot, just a little bit. It's nothing to worry about. But if you go back billions of years, it's a huge problem, because then your sun is growing every year as you go back and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? That's going to change everything, burn everything. There wouldn't be another planet between us and the sun. Anyhow, and the gravitational pull and all that kind of shit, because gravity's due to mass of the object, blah, 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 all that bullshit. So the gravity would be getting stronger and bigger. And same as the moon. The moon gets further away every year. So if you go back in time, it comes closer. And as it gets closer, its gravity's going to change the tides more and fuck with all kinds of shit. It would be just huge tides going fast as hell, because they'll be spinning faster at a closer orbit. And then they say, well, it broke off the Earth. But then they said that they had fancy moon rocks that do special things. But then they got busted. Somebody tested those moon rocks and was like, no, this is just a regular rock from Argentina or wherever it was. And so then they're like, well, that's because it just broke off the Earth. Well, why don't these ones glow in the dark? Why can't we crush them into dust and fucking have them reflect sunlight? So, and that's the thing about a liar, is they can always just change their lie a little bit. They don't need to go out and actually study and do evidence, anything like that. They can just update the lie, put a new twist in there somewhere. Truth, people, we can't. We only have the truth, and then we have what we can infer from that truth. That's it. We can't just start adding things. Now we can add, like I said, we can infer things and say, I'd like this, or all evidence points to God, but we can't say that for sure, 100%. It's just that all the evidence says that, yeah, there's God. The biology, the stars, the moon, the sun. Saturn's rings are getting further away from Saturn every year, so they should be gone. They're billions of years old. They should just be gone. All these limiting factors that just say, no, the Earth can't be that old. The universe as we know it, even in our made up fake universe, cannot be that old. End of story. Now you're dealing with liars, so of course all they got to do is come up with some theory, lie, and that's it. Oh, well, that's science now. Based on what? Well, he said it, and he's a scientist. Science. That's it. That's crazy. I seen the head of NASA a few years ago now. It was a woman at the time, and she was with the reporters or whatever, and someone asked her about the scientific method, and I explained it to her, defined it, and she was like, yeah, well, we're probably going to just do away with that soon enough, in a few years. And they have. They've done away with it altogether. And she actually said it. It's out there. It was on the internet for a while. I only seen it once. It was kind of swept under the rug, right? And that's where you get into like these Russell Brands, Louder with Crowders, JP Sear, all these guys that say, oh, truth, awakening, blah, blah, blah. They're not truthfully awake. Some of them are on an awakening journey, for sure. Some of them are pretty pig-headed in where they're at, and they think that everything's answered, except for the problems in the political sphere. And that's small-minded. Shit, I forgot how I got to those guys. Anyway, they won't touch stories like that. That's what it is. They just let it get swept away, shoved under the rug. Fucking Neil deGrasse Tyson is it's funny because all of us flat earthers know him. But when I was talking to my family about him, and they're not dumb, they were like, who? And it's like, well, you seen him on The Big Bang Theory. He was on there, special guest. I know you guys watch that shit. Anyway, but all of us, we know who the fuck he is. And he's out defending transgenderism. And the Hodge twins did a show on it, talked about it at least, on him a couple times now, and showed him to be a fucking fraud. But they're not putting all the pieces together, right? They're still like, fucking, I can't believe this scientist is so fucked up. And it's like, well, dude, look at his career and shit. And they think it's just this one aspect of him. They're like, oh, fuck, he's a genius over here. And he's an most known astrophysicist in the world, blah, blah, all this stuff. How can he be so retarded over here? Well, you should look at what he's doing over here. He's all retarded. And then look at his past, where he was a fucking failed actor who got picked up by Hollywood, and now he's a rich shill, know-it-all, know nothing. Anyhow, I gotta wrap it up because I'm gonna run out of time soon. Keep forgetting to say my little goodbyes because of, well, I'm not forgetting, I overtalk, blabbing on. So I'm gonna shut her down there and say God bless you and have a great and wonderful day. I hope that you like and subscribe, and more importantly, keep me in your prayers if you're a Christian. God bless.